Were you an athlete, school teacher, or maybe worked in a corporate world? Our careers, they tend to be the way that we identify ourselves. Now, what happens when that identity is taken from you? We found ours in real estate. Now, let us help you find yours on the Free Agent Real Estate Investing Podcast, starting now.
I got you. Welcome to the Winning Move Podcast. I'm your host, Stratton Brown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have an amazing guest on today. My good friend, Henry Washington, flew out all the way from Fayetteville, Arkansas, wherever that is, to come speak at our meetup tonight with me, Dean Rogers, and Jason Pritchard. And he took time out of his day to come talk to me and talk shit on the internet.
That's right, man. I appreciate you having me, man. This has already been a blast. I'm from not too far from here, so it's good to be able to come see the sunshine. But I love it out here, man, and I'm glad you got to send me out here to do some talking, and hopefully you won't have to edit me out too much.
Nah, bro. Nah, hopefully not. But all right, bro. So let's start, man. I mean, so you're real estate investor, entrepreneur. I know your following's legit, and it's very, very hard to find in our world these days.
Right.
And you're killing it with the education stuff.
Yep.
So let's start off. I want to hear about your childhood. Like,
yeah.
where were we at? What caused Henry to play sports? And then we'll go from there. Like,
yeah, man. So, I mean, my pops was a basketball player when he was growing up. And so, like, I had a ball in my hand before I could walk, right? And so I just always knew I was going to be a basketball player. And so I played ball my whole life pretty much. And little did I know, he also, like, planted the entrepreneurial seed within me too, because we never really talked about it. But my dad, so he was a high school art teacher, like, for his whole career. And he's super talented artist, but he also, teachers have a teacher salary, right?
Yeah.
And my dad liked to do shit that costs money. And so, like, he always had a side hustle to make extra money because he liked to travel and take us and trying to show us that the world was bigger than just the city that we lived in. And it was important to him to do that. And so he used to, like, before I was born, he would grow plants at home and then, like, take them to the swap meet and sell them at the swap meet, like, buy them and sell them.
Yeah.
Then he had an arcade back when you used to have to, like, leave your house and go to a place to play video games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then he had vending machines at one point. And then most of my childhood, he owned a barbecue restaurant. So I spent, like, my youth, I grew up in a barbecue restaurant. He did all this on the side while he was teaching, right? And so I always knew, like, the seed was planted. Like, if you can have a side business, you can make extra money. Like, but he never talked to me about, like, starting your own business. He always talked to me about, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a good job, right? The path that, most people know about. And so, we never had those actual conversations, but, like, I saw the impact that it had on him and how he was able to do the things that he wanted to do. And so, like, when it came time for me to start my own business, and to invest in real estate, I never had that, like, some people have that doubt or that fear that, like, what if it fails? Like, I didn't really have that. I saw my dad run multiple businesses. And so when it came time to start, I was like, all right, I'll just do this thing. And so it was his impact on my growing up, like, huge impact on my financial future, and without even, like, knowing it or planning it to be that. So it's been huge for me.
So, like, were you working hard growing up in basketball, like grinding? Like,
yeah, man.
Like, I mean, really, I didn't start working hard in sports until, like, 13, but then, like, there was, like, a push.
Yeah.
There was, like, a serious push and work ethic.
Yeah, man. I went hard. I always had to work harder than everybody else because I've never been a small guy. But I loved basketball, and so I'm like, like a big baby or tractor trailer, right? Like, they had to work a little extra hard to stay in shape than everybody else. So I would do stuff like when my teammates, when they would, in the off season, they would just be chilling. I'm like, I'm on the swim team and I'm on the cross country team, right? Because, like, if I smell food, I gain weight, right? And so, like, I had to stay active all 3 seasons in school or else
to like stay
to stay ready to play ball, whereas everybody else could just like,
chill out.
It's basketball season, cool, and they can pick up and run 4 miles and be fine. Like I'd never been that guy, so I always had to work harder than everybody else in order to just be in the same court with them.
Bro, but that really pays off though, like because that transcends everything.
Yeah,
having to I feel like I was the same way. To where I was just never good, bro. I could never catch. I was somewhat fast, but then like I had to try and outwork everybody in order to like get ahead to get anything in high school, somewhat, and then for sure in college. Like, bro, like completely different game.
Yeah, college was a wake up call for sure.
And so then you went to college and you went and played JUCO ball, right?
Yeah, I played JUCO ball for a year, and then realized that being a professional player probably wasn't in the cards, but I needed to figure out a way to make money. And so after a year at JUCO ball, I kind of just hung it up and went to school to like actually get a degree. Yeah.
How'd you realize it wasn't for you?
Everybody was good. Everybody was really good and in shape all the time, right? And like I said, I always had to work harder. And like, I'm 6'1", 6'2" on a good day if I stand on my tippy toes. And so like, in the world of basketball post high school, like that's short.
Yeah, you're short as fuck.
And so I'm gonna be a guard, and every guard is like fast as shit, and I'm a big dude, right? And so like it didn't take long to put the math together to figure out.
Some dudes don't, bro. So I mean, think about all the dudes I know from like my high school and college career. I can name a couple right now who are still like chasing after the game, and I'm like, hey, bro. Right. It ain't it. Like we can make money a lot of other ways.
And I've always been smart. And so like I was like, I can work my ass off and try really, really hard and still probably not get close to making it. Or I can not work nearly as hard, apply the smarts that I have, get a degree and make 6 figures. Right. And so I just was carrying my butt to school somewhere and get my degree.
So where'd you go to college after that?
Hampton University.
And then where'd you go after Hampton?
After Hampton, I didn't go get a postgraduate degree. So I got my bachelor's. I did end up playing basketball again. So I did play some semi-pro ball after I graduated college. A coach saw me playing pickup ball and saw that I had some talent, and he was putting together like a traveling squad that, I thought it wasn't going to turn into I didn't think it was going to turn into anything, but then it did. And so like I got to play semi-pro ball and kind of travel around and kind of live out my dream on a small scale anyway. So that was pretty cool.
That's dope. Yeah. And so you did that, and then did you go get your job?
Yeah, so I did that while I had a job. So I graduated from college, I got a job, and then I kept my job while I was doing the semi-pro ball thing.
And you got cybersecurity? Am I wrong?
Yeah, close, right? Yeah, so I did computer information systems, and then I did data analytics and software development. That's mostly what I did.
So when did you start working for Walmart? Like was it like
2010? 2010. Nah. So I graduated in 2006 from college.
Okay.
And then I went and I worked for a healthcare provider for a while, and I worked for the government for a little while. And then Walmart called me out of the blue in like 2010 and asked me, and I was living in Virginia Beach because Hampton's in Virginia. And so Walmart called me out of the blue and was like, you want to move to Arkansas to work for Walmart? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that at all. Right. But it was funny, man, because the recruiter, so they were, I went to a black school, and so they were heavily recruiting out of black schools, right? Technology people from black schools. And so it was a headhunter that they had hired who was doing this. And I could tell he was a black dude. He obviously knew I was a black dude. And it was funny when I told him, nah, I didn't want to. He broke character completely when he was like, you should come out here and interview, and they're paying, and I was like, I don't want to do that. He was like, bro, they're out here paying people like kings. They're going to pay you twice what you make, and the cost of living is way less. He was like, if you don't want to stay there, just don't. Just go work for a year, stack your bread, then come back. Like he legit said that to me on a professional interview call. But it was like,
he was like, bro, quit being stupid.
Right. That's 100% what he said. Stupid. He was like, bro, this is like, I see what you make. This is a job doing what you want to do. They're going to pay you more than you make, and it costs less to live there. That's like 2 raises. And when he said that, I was like, you got a point. So I went, and my plan was to stay there for a year, make a bunch of money, and come back. And I ended up just enjoying the place so much and enjoying the work that I was doing that I was like, I'm good. So I've been there ever since.
When did you meet your wife, bro?
We've been married for 7 years. We've known each other for 8 years.
So you met her out there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she from out there?
She's from north or southwest Missouri. Okay. I'm from north.
Yeah.
They're right above. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Dope. All right. So what made you? So you're making 6 figures at Walmart.
Yeah.
Were you working a lot?
Yeah. I mean, they work you. But I was making good money, man. But I didn't know shit about money. Like, so I made good money, but I also spent all that money.
Yeah.
So like, I would get paid, and then 10 days into the pay period, I'm out of money, right? And so I'm trying to figure out,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like, can I get double cheeseburgers off the dollar menu for the next 3 meals to get me through to getting paid again? Like, legit would be having them conversations with myself, and saw no problem with it, right? Like, it never dawned on me that like I shouldn't live like that until I got married, and my wife was like, I don't want that gonna be a thing for us. Right? So that was my first wake up call to knowing, like, yeah, you aren't doing, like, even though I went down the path everybody says go down, right? Get good grades, go to school, get a degree, get a good job. I did all that and still couldn't afford life. And so that, like, she kind of gave me that first wake up call to be like, yeah, man, this isn't how life is supposed to work. Right? It was tough.
Jay, I mean, I remember when me and Kalani were going, and I first got started, and Kalani was making 6 figures, but then like the amount of money in taxes that they pulled out of her check and everything else, I was like, yo, like, it's not that. Like, I was just like, you make 6 figures, but like, are you making 6 figures?
But really, you make 50 grand, right?
Like, bro, but really, you make like 45 grand a year. Right. I was just like, I try not to be shitty with this, but I don't know how people can live on less than $100,000 a year.
Especially now.
But it is hard.
Especially now. Inflation's killing people. You gone to the grocery store lately?
Yeah, but we just drove by like $6 gas.
Right, man. You're 100% right. Like $100,000 is like, I don't know how, and whole households don't make that.
Whole households.
I don't know how they're surviving, man.
So it was an eye opener for me, because I remember everybody, like, I remember like saying Kalani had a 6-figure job out of college. Again, that's a massive achievement, right? To do that, but then like, and everyone thinks like she's making all this money, and then we talk, and it was like, okay, yeah, I make 6 figures, but then like you have all these different taxes they're getting hit with,
tax, and then all the insurance,
and that blew me away to where that was really an eye opener for me. Like, luckily, I was just stupid and I didn't finish college, and so she was the breadwinner at that point in time. But that blew me away, and then I think of other people who are making like living off of 50 grand a year.
Yeah.
With like 3 kids.
Yeah. It's insane, man.
That is insanity.
And this was 2017 when I started to have that realization that, like, hey, bud, like, you're not doing what you need to be doing financially. And, I look at that and I think, man, there's a lot of people who are in a lot worse position who are making ends meet. And so, like, for me, I knew it was I needed to figure out how to make more money, but more importantly, figure out how to manage the money that I had. Like, I just didn't manage my money at all, right? Because I was young and dumb, and I had a good job, and so it was like, you just think this is ever-coming stream of paychecks that I'll never have to worry about losing. And getting married and kind of seeing that, like, it's not how it's supposed to be. Because right after we got married, and I kind of realized that I needed to change some things. We also tried to buy a house together. And because that's what you do, right? That's the next step, right?
That's the next step.
And when we applied for the loan, the mortgage broker basically said, we would love to loan to your wife for this house as long as you are not on this note, because my credit was bad.
What?
And they were like, you were gonna make this harder. They basically said, you're gonna make this harder for her. So if y'all want this house, you can't be on the note.
And this is only for like $150,000.
It was $170,000 house. And they were like, yeah, you can't do this.
And you're making 6 figures.
6 figures. I made twice what she made. And they were like, she's better. Like, the
risk profile.
Right.
The risk profile over here is way better.
Right. And so that's like another big blow to the ego because I wanted to be this provider.
Yeah.
I did all the things everybody said to do, and I still couldn't do anything. Like I still couldn't provide. And so that was like the real slap in the face. And then the final straw was like her and I having a conversation in bed one night, just talking about like, what our future is going to look like. How many kids do we want to have? And where do we want to live? And what's our dream house going to look like? And, all the things you talk about as a new couple, which is super exciting. Except like in the back of my mind, all I could think about was like, you want a dream house? And like, I barely got here. Like I slid in here into this house. And we're talking about a dream house. Like I knew I couldn't give her the things that she deserved. And so like I had a panic attack because I was like, she's going to figure out that I don't have it together and she's going to leave. And I just was freaking out. And so I got on Google, as anybody else would do, and just started Googling like, how can I make more money? Because I was like, in my mind, that was the solve. Like, figure out how to make more money. You can afford to do whatever. And that's when I found real estate, because I just saw all these articles and people making money in real estate. And I didn't know before that like normal people bought real estate. I thought it was just all these super wealthy people. And I ended up seeing a talk. It was a TED talk of this kid who had like 20 something doors. And he was talking about how he was financially free from buying these 25 or 26 rentals. And now he gets to live the life he wants and do whatever he wants. And I was like, if this kid figured it out, like, you can figure this out. And so I just like decided at 3 a.m, like, I'm gonna go figure out how to do what he did. And I just like, it was funny. It was like immediately calmed my spirit. I had no doubt in my mind that I was gonna figure it out. And so again, my dad telling me, they're showing me how to be an entrepreneur all this time. When I saw that TED talk and saw somebody had figured it out, like I didn't think I can't start a business and do it. I thought, well, I'll just go do that.
Do you think 26 doors now is financial freedom though?
It depends on how much cash. If you bought them all free and clear, sure.
Yeah, if you bought them all free and clear. Yeah. But like I think, and we talked about this yesterday. Like, I mean, you need a lot of rentals in order to like truly achieve financial freedom.
Right. If you look at net cash flow, because everybody talks about cash flow and all they really mean is what am I getting over the mortgage, right? And I get $2,000 in rent and my mortgage is $1,000, so I have $1,000 cash flow. That's not cash flow, right? At the end of the day, if you've bought a house on a mortgage and you account for your maintenance, taxes, insurance, CapEx, property management, right? All that stuff gets accounted for. You're really only making $100 to $200 net cash flow,
exactly,
typically. And so, 25 doors at $100 a door, $2,500, $3,000 if you some volatility a month. Can you make that and be financially free? Probably, but you're not. Is that the life you're not getting out of Ferraris, right? But but yeah, I mean, it's going to take some more than that.
I do think, and I talked about this on my podcast, it creates a safety net that allows you to take more risk.
That's 100% right. Like, yes, what I tell my students is like, look, get enough cash flow to cover your expenses. Like figure out what your bill is and then buy enough assets to cover that bill. And then you just keep doing that. Once all your bills are covered by assets, like technically you're financially free. Again, are you buying Ferraris? No. But you don't have to go to work and trade your time to pay your bills. And now you can focus on things that really bring in the money that you want, because you can literally pursue your passions now. Like, it's not just a cliche thing to say anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
And you can afford to do it.
Yeah.
And you operate from a completely different like mindset too. Yeah. Like when the bills are coming in, I talked about this. So like we bought some rentals, we bought some e-commerce stores.
It's an FU mindset.
It's an FU mindset to where I can take a lot of risk.
Right. Like my bills are covered, so I don't have to I do whatever I want. Right.
Exactly.
Like it gives you this freedom and this confidence to say, I don't have to do what you want to do. I don't have to do what that person wants me to. I can do whatever I want. Right. And that confidence kind of just, when you operate from that level of confidence, like you can get a lot done.
You can get a lot. The confidence level, like, because now you're going like, yeah, no, fuck you.
Right.
Like, fuck, I can do this. Yeah. I don't have to do this. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And now I think just from a mindset perspective, like you're a lot happier too, because you feel in control.
100%. Right. So yes, like 25 doors, not going to get you, you're not going to feel like, Bill Gates out there, but you're not going to have to go to work and trade your time for money. And then you can, some people don't need all that wealth. It's like some people want to go focus on something that really improves other people's lives. And if your bills are covered, you can truly go do that, right? Yeah. Like you can put more time into, spending time working for your church or doing something that fulfills you in some other way. Like, that's really what financial freedom is about. Like I tell people, it's more about the freedom, less about the finances, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's more about just time freedom. Well, everybody just wants more free time. Yeah. That's all it is. Like, I mean, if you equate it to it.
It's funny too. I asked all my students before they join my program, one of the questions I ask them when I'm interviewing them is like, I mean, let's pretend you've got all your rentals that's producing all this cash flow for you. Like, what's the point? Like, what do you want that for? Because there's more to life than just making the money. Like, some people, like you said, they can have 5 doors that cover their expenses and they can go do something valuable. Some people want more. But for me, it's about like, what do you want to do beyond just making the money? Because if your why is bigger than you, then you got crap gets hard, you're going to push through it. Right. And some people, if you just want to make money, yeah, you can make money in real estate. You can make money doing a whole lot of stuff. But when stuff gets hard, what's going to keep you pushing through? Like, you know, when you show up to a house you bought and the tenant that just left set it on fire, like, what keeps you pushing through that?
What does keep me pushing through that? I mean, the fact that we have to just fucking get that shit. We got a private lender on that bitch. We got to pay them back, whatever. This is real estate. Get it done. Hopefully I can get some tax write-offs. But I mean, but it is true, right? So like this week, dude, we had that happen. Someone was stealing from us in one of our companies. And then we had like 2 other things. Like, it was like 4 things that just...
Yeah. That crap will wear you down. It'll make you want to
quit. If you don't have that why or the grit. I mean, the grit can only get you so far, bro, because like you will tap out.
Yeah.
I truly do think you will tap out if you don't see an end.
It gets hard. Dude, I had a moment a week and a half ago where I just had my head in a pillow and I had to cry it out for a minute. Like, I just, you know, my wife is sitting there tapping me on the shoulder. I'm crying it out, and then figure out at one point, all right, well, got that done. Now I need to go figure out how to fix the problem, right? Because your why is bigger than the down.
That's a thing. I mean, nobody really talks about like I will get so overwhelmed. I will take an hour shower. I will take an hour shower and I will just sit there and I will just fucking breathe.
Yeah, man.
Let it out.
Yeah.
De-stress. Go to a flotation tank. Something. However you do cope with that. Right. Because you got a lot of weight on your shoulders, bro.
The pressure is unbelievable at times, and it's hard to portray to anybody who's not living that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like how much pressure it truly is. And so the crap gets hard, man. So you gotta want to do more than just do for yourself. Because if all you want to do is do for yourself, then that stuff's gonna weigh you down to the point where you're not getting up again.
Exactly. All right. So we there. Where we at? So Walmart now, past Walmart, working. Tell me about like when you bought your first one, and then when did you start like actually building momentum? Because like the first one, I don't think builds momentum. Like it's like a proof of concept, but then we still have to break through another barrier of like, all right. Yeah. Now we working.
That's a phenomenal question, right? So for me, it was so from when I had that panic attack to when I had my first property under contract was about 90 days.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so I got that. And so it's funny, I still have my book where we wrote down our original goals, my wife and I, for real estate. And the plan was to buy 1 property every couple of months. And so we had on there like 5 to 10 houses in the next 1 to 2 years. Right.
Okay.
And so, 5 to 10 houses we was 1 property a year. That's what it was. 5 to 10 houses in the next 5 to 10 years is what our goals were. Right. And so we bought that first one. I bought it. I didn't have any money because I only had $1,000 in my savings account. I used a 401k loan to get the down payment.
How hard was that?
$20,000.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you because I heard it was so hard to get a 401k loan.
No, bro, it's so easy.
Okay,
it's 100% easy. Like, so the way it worked was I didn't have a 401k, my wife did. And so we had to borrow $19,000 out of her 401k. All we literally had to do is just tell her employer that that's what we were looking at doing. Somebody called us. They asked us how much. We told them we had the money in our account in like 5 business days. And you pay it back through
just like
they take it out of your paycheck.
Oh, wow.
So they take your payments back out of your paycheck every 2 weeks. So you're making a payment every 2 weeks instead of every month. And they take it pre-tax, so it reduces your taxable income. So it's actually a benefit.
Yeah.
And you're paying it back with interest, but it's your money. So the interest goes back to you. So it's like you're being your own bank. but we used it to buy a property. And so the property's cash flow was actually paying back. And so like we were getting paid more.
Where'd you learn about this? I haven't heard about that one. That was fire.
Yeah, man. That was another investor who was actually a business partner of mine now. Kind of gave me the idea that it was a thing. And then we called the employer.
What's the construction loan we can get?
For a renovation?
Like a FHA construction loan.
203K.
203K.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten one of those?
Nah, never had to do one.
But that one,
the 401k loan was dope. Now the caveat is you can't get a 401k loan and then go blow the money, right? Because you have to pay it back.
Yeah.
And so is there a risk? Absolutely. Because if I buy a property and then like I pay too much for it, if the property's losing money, now I'm paying the property and I'm paying back my loan.
Yeah.
And so I'm losing all kinds of money. But I bought a property under market value, the cash flow paid back the loan. I put the difference in my pocket. And so like I went from like when I bought that first property, like to go from 90 days of having a panic attack to then owning an asset that's paying you money every month. And then the bank came to me after we bought it and said, hey, you bought that house for 114. It appraised for 155. We can give you a line of credit on the equity you have. And so I was like, yeah, okay. So they did it. Then I ended up with like another 20 something grand that I could use to go do another deal. And like, when you're having a panic attack about money and 90 days later you own an asset and then have 20 grand more to go do it again, like
right,
the light bulb went off in my head. Like, no, this isn't a one deal a year thing. This is like as many as we can get as fast as we can go. So that's when it was like go time for me. And so then I started to work with this bank and do more deals. And what I started to realize working with this bank was like they needed me because they were a small local bank. They wanted, right, that's why they came to me.
They need that money working.
Let's do a line of credit because they want to do another loan. Then they said, well, let's go buy another house because they want to do another loan. And I started to realize that like the relationship was important to them. Loaning to me was important to them. And so then I started asking for like, hey, I want to do more deals, but I don't want to bring money every time. And so I've now worked it out with the bank that I'm working with that like, I'll keep bringing you good deals under market value if you keep loaning to me without me having to put 20, 15% down every time. And that's kind of what got me to being able to scale. Because when you don't have to put 15% down every time you buy a deal, the only thing stopping you from scaling is deal flow. And so I just figured out how to get good deal flow. And I would use these small bank loans and I was just stacking deals, man.
So is that still the same bank you use now? The one?
Not that particular one. I have another bank that I use now. But I have like, I use the banks that I use are like tools in the tool belt. Each one has different utilities, comfortability in lending and how they want to lend. And so like I have one that'll make me put 10% down, but they can close in like 7 to 10 days. And so I can compete with cash offers.
And is it still like
all you crazy wholesalers out there going nuts? I can compete with y'all with my small bank.
With your small.
Yeah.
Is that one still 4%?
For the interest?
Yeah.
4.25%. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the terms you get from these fucking banks, dude.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anybody getting terms like this.
Yeah, man. The terms are awesome. So it's a lot of people don't realize these small local banks, they have products for real estate investors. Like they're called construction loans, and they typically do them for new construction, but they'll do them for fix and flips and rehabs and all that stuff, right? And so for me, so I'll talk typically, so not just what I get, but typically what you'll find is they want you to put 15 to 20% down, and they'll give you a construction loan. And so that means if you're going to buy a house that you got to fix up, so let's say you're buying a house for, $100 grand, just for ease of number's sake. I know we're in California, that shit's impossible. But let's say you're buying a house for $100 grand and it's going to cost you 20 grand to fix it up. The bank will loan you 85% of the purchase. So they'll give you 85 grand and then they'll give you all 20 grand to fix it up. So all you got to bring is a down payment. They're going to fund everything else. They'll give you that on a note that's a 3 to 5 year adjustable rate period. So they'll say your interest rate's 4.25% for the next 3 or 5 years. You get to pick. They'll give you an option, right? And so that means that's going to be your rate fixed for 3 or 5 years, and then it'll adjust up or down based on whatever the prime is in 3 to 5 years. And so you're locked in at that rate for 3 to 5 years. It's on a 20 or 25 year amortization typically.
Okay.
And then there's a construction period. So while I'm renovating the house, I'm not making principal payments. I'm making interest only payments during the renovation.
That's a good ass
So it's
loan.
super cheap.
Yeah.
While I'm renovating it, then you stick a tenant in it or you sell it. And so a lot of the times for these flips, I'm making interest only payments
on 4%.
Yeah, and then I sell it
so
before it ever goes principal.
You can even buy more than anyone else too, just because you don't have this much holding costs.
Yeah, the holding costs.
No points.
Low. No points,
dude.
No points. Origination's cheap. Closing costs are fairly inexpensive. It's a great tool that a lot of investors don't utilize.
It's a small local banks.
Small local banks, and it's a relationship business. So, are you going to have to put money down? Probably your first couple of deals. Yeah. But if you work that relationship and they start, because it's a two-way street. They want to loan to people who are going to bring them low risk investments, right? So if I buy a house for 50 grand that's worth 150, they're like, yeah. Because if I stop making payments, they get a house back that's worth 150. Like they'll make more, way more if they get that foreclosed on and then have to sell it themselves than they ever will on the interest.
They just got to put it up,
right? And so they're like, this is a risk-free investment. Like, yeah, Henry, bring us more deals. And so because you're bringing them investments that they know they're going to make money on, whether you pay or don't pay, right? And they're local. They keep their loans in-house. They're not selling their loans to anybody, so they can be flexible on the terms. It allows you to say, look, I've done some deals. You've got some trust in me. Here's what I want, right? I want to be able to do more deals and put less into the deal. They'll now know, yeah, we can do that because you're bringing us deals with huge amounts of equity. Everybody wins. And so if you build that relationship, you can get pretty optimal financing. Now, every bank's not going to give you those kinds of terms, but I tell students, you keep shopping until you find the one that will. Small banks everywhere.
That's right. Jake, will you turn down the AC, bro? I'm freezing. I'm freezing, bro. Where are you finding these banks?
Literally, man. So the best place to find them, and where I found most of them, is going to RIAs. And either people from the banks will go to the RIAs because some of the people from the banks are also investors, or they're in there looking for investors to lend to. And if you don't see any banking contacts at your RIA, just ask the active investors what banks they're using, and you'll find some banking contacts for people you can work with.
Thank you, Jake. So we got that. So when you have students coming in, and this is something that I somewhat teeter on with my students in the Winner Circle, and they say they only want to buy a house a year, are you pressing them like, hey, no, dude, like if you're gonna work with me, like we gonna do something. Like we're not just gonna buy a house a year. I'm trying to help you create an actual amazing life.
Yeah, no, I don't. Right, and here's why. Because everybody's kind of got to get to that realization on their own.
Okay.
Like if somebody would have told me back when I said I only wanted to do a house a year, I'd have been like, no, I'm not putting that kind of risk out there because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
But after I did that first deal, I was like, throw that plan out the window. Let's go. Right. And that's what I find with my students. They do a deal and they're like, the second they get the deal done, they're like, where's the next one? Let's go. Right? Yeah, like it's that mind-blowing and life-changing that you'll get there if that's truly what you want to do. And some people truly just want a house or two like some people love their job so much that they just want to work their job.
But that's good though. I mean, because you're doing the same thing.
Yeah,
you're doing the same thing. If you love your job and that's like, hey, I don't want anything more.
Yeah,
you're truly happy because you're not like us, to where like I feel like I need all these cars and nice things.
Right. I need my jet.
Right. I need my jet. I need my Ferrari, my Rolls.
I need
McLaren.
I need my Guru starter kit, man.
Oh, I need my Guru starter kit. I need my private jet flight out to go get my boys McLaren to film my Guru commercial.
Yeah, man. I held on to my job as long as I could.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
I held on to my job. I only quit because it literally didn't make any financial sense for me to stay. Like,
okay, were you just flipping more at that point?
So I started coaching and teaching, and because I had the coaching and teaching business and the real estate business and a day job, my day job I was slacking, right? And and I was getting called out for it. Like, and so my boss was like, "Hey, we need you to step it up here because everybody feels like you're doing all your stuff on the side, but you're not giving us what we're paying you
down
for."
The team.
And so I said, I took it. I felt some type of way about it because I'm like, I always want to do my best, and I felt like, oh, you gonna call me out? And then when I stepped back and thought about it, I'm like, I mean, they're right. They're right. And so what am I going to do about that? Right? Am I going to give them the time that they are requesting? And I said, if I do that, what's that cost me? Like, what am I not doing in these other two businesses because I'm going to give them more of that time? And when I did the math on what that was costing me, I was like, oh, I can't give them that time.
Yep.
Because I'll make way more money if I spend that time in these other businesses than if I give it to them. And so I had to give them my notice.
Well, I think you working your day job for a while, bro, it makes you be so much more efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of dudes like, yeah, I jumped in. Oh, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. Number one, nobody's going to tell you what the fuck to do as a full-time entrepreneur. So you're going to piss away your 8 hours a day anyways, is my personal opinion, unless you have a clear vision. But now you're like, okay, I only got 3 hours to get all this shit done. And you learn like true efficiency.
Forces you to use processes because you don't have the time. You're right. And when you're 100% entrepreneur from the gate, like you're okay grinding some stuff out for a while. And even though that doesn't make time sense.
Like it doesn't make sense. And you've been, what is it? Brainwashed by the media. I need to grind. I need to grind. No, you're doing zero value work.
People aren't grinding. Wealthy people are making money because other people are grinding for them.
Right. And then when they are grinding, it's the most like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk work so fucking efficiently. You can't even imagine it. Right. Like they aren't working on getting their logo done.
And their return on they're not on Vistaprint. Like, no, that one's not gonna work. Right? Yeah, they're not coming up with LLC names.
Right. Like all that other like shit. They're like, oh, I'm grinding. I was thinking about it. To where I remember seeing some gurus online saying when I first got started my real estate business, I would work all day and all night. I was like, what the fuck you doing at night, bro? No one can talk on the phone.
Right.
Like no one's talking on the phone.
Right.
That's the only thing that matters is driving more revenue by talking to leads.
Deals, lead flow. That's what I teach my students. Like, but it's not some secret sauce. Like it's lead gen. It's lead gen. That's what wholesalers have figured out. Like lead gens equal money. So even if you're gonna keep most of your deals, direct to seller lead gen is the way you make money.
You're still buying it deep. Well, you buy it way deeper. And I think every buy and hold and flipper, they bitch about wholesale fees. But if you would fucking invest in your own education,
go spend that money
and go spend that
on your marketing yourself.
Because I've spent people have paid me $50,000, $60,000. If you would have gone and spent that on education, you'd never be paying me again. And you'd be buying that deep.
That's right.
But nobody does.
Nobody wants to do the work.
Nobody wants to do the work, but
I want you to bring me the deal, and I also want it very cheap.
Right? Like, so I want you to bring me out the deal on the platter.
You're taking all the meat off the bone. Yeah, well, they spend $40,000 a month on marketing, so
$40,000, and they dealt with that crazy ass seller that nobody wants to talk to, because generally when we're buying shitty houses, we deal with unpleasant people.
It's problems. You're buying problems. You're buying situations.
Exactly. Yeah. So where are we at? So we're there. Education. Why'd you start your education? Like, why'd you start doing that?
Yeah, man, I fell into that too, right? So the whole reason I started it, again, my wife, man, I wouldn't be here without her. She gave me the 401k loan to buy her first property. She never questioned this. And then got into coaching because of her. So what happened was once I got on the Bigger Pockets podcast, like my Instagram kind of took off. And so like prior to that, I was doing phone calls with people just for free because when you have 500 followers and 2 people want to ask you a question, it's okay, right? But when you have thousands of followers and hundreds of people want to ask you questions, you don't have the time, right? And I still wanted to help people, and so I said, okay, I'll do calls and consultations. I'm just going to charge a small fee. That way it weeds out the people who are going to waste time. And so I was charging like $50 to do an hour consultation call. Right? Like, so I just wanted to help people. And my wife, like, I was doing them, and then like my wife came to me and she was like, I just got off a phone and she was like, why do you look so sad? And I was like, I'm just tired of answering the same 2 questions over and over again. And she was like, are they all like that? And I was like, yeah, everybody just wants to know where I'm finding all my deals and how I'm financing all these deals. And she was like, you should just like put something in a PowerPoint and like put it out there for people so that they can go through that first and pay for that. And then if they want to talk to you after, you can get on a call with them. And like she was basically describing like building a course, right? And so I built 2 courses. I built a course on how I'm finding my deals and how I'm financing my deals, and I put them out there super low ticket. And I was like, when people would ask me questions, I would just point them to the course, and I'm like, look, you can go take this 2 to 3 hour course that I go into super detail about all this stuff, or you can spend $200 and talk to me for 30 minutes at a really high level and get way less information, right? And so they're like, well, I'll take the $40 in the 3 hour course, right? And so that, like, I didn't expect to sell many. Like, I just wasn't a thing to make a bunch of money. Like, I was just trying to not waste a bunch of time on the phone. And then even at a $40 price point, we were doing 10, 15, sometimes 20 grand a month in sales because people were just buying the stuff. And I was like, oh, this is like a legit business. Like, this is a thing. I didn't know, like, I didn't I didn't have a plan of having this coaching and teaching business. I just was trying to put information out there so I wouldn't have to answer the same questions over and over again.
Right. To where you got me and I'm like, all right, we're going to build this. We're going to build this. We're going to build this. Right. This is what it's going to be like.
And so then now I've turned it into a business. I've realized that like, okay, that means people want the information. And so like, how do I build this out to be an actual business? And so I went and paid for coaching that could teach me how to build a teaching and coaching program and business so that I approach it the right way.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been doing.
I hope you do build out that sales floor, bro. I hope you do build out that sales floor. Yeah, so now we're there. And so what does your rental portfolio look like now? What does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So we hover between 65 and 70 some odd doors. I'm buying a bunch, I'm selling some right now. And so that's about the portfolio. I've got 12 doors under contract, like right now, today. And then I'm selling a 12-unit property. So that's why I say we kind of hover in between there. Day to day, I'm still like in the real estate business. I'm still acquisitions. I have marketing pretty much automated. But I take the phone calls and look at the houses and make the offers. But after that, I'm not much involved. Like, I've got contractors that go do the work. I've got a real estate agent who sells the flips, and I've got my wife who does the property management if we keep it as a rental. So this position, I'm not too involved. Obviously answering questions and things, but I'm not like, everybody else kind of takes care of the rest of the stuff. In the coaching business, the courses are the courses. They're out there. They're evergreen, right? People can get them whenever they want. But the coaching program, as we bring in new students, I teach once a week. And then I have a coach who teaches once a week, 2 coaches who teach once a week each, and then an online community. And so I spend time in there answering questions and talking. I was doing that right before we started doing this.
You got a Facebook group?
No, it's not in Facebook. It's in a third-party app outside of. I didn't want my group in Facebook because everything's on Facebook.
What is it?
Banned.
Really?
Yep.
Are you thinking about having a Facebook? So a bunch of my friends have a Facebook. It's just like a lead gen, part of our Instagram. Yeah. And that's just another fucking file.
I probably should. I don't utilize Facebook as much as I should. I'm all Instagram and TikTok. But I probably need to leverage Twitter and Facebook.
I can't. I'm scared of Twitter, bro. I'm gonna get canceled.
You need to have someone manage Twitter for you.
You
need a filter.
I'm gonna get canceled.
You need a filter. Yeah, man. So I mean, yeah, all organic traffic. Like, I'm not paying for ads, or it's just all like. I just pride myself, and I genuinely want to help people, both in my investing business and in my coaching and teaching business. And
bro, talk about in your investing business how you truly care about your tenants. Like, we're not buying Class D properties anymore because I can't take it.
Yeah, man. You kind of grow up as an investor as you continue to do this business, and most investors who are seasoned will tell you their buy box, like what they want to buy. Yeah. And they know what their buy box is because they learned what they absolutely don't want to buy. Right. And I've had to learn that, over the past 12 months. So I've kind of learned a lesson in what I don't want to buy. And I have a property that, is in a D-class neighborhood, and cash flow wise, like if you look at the numbers on paper, yeah, it's a buy. It's a good deal. But the tenants that are going to live there are always going to be those tenants, right? And so what I struggle with is if we end up having, because not every tenant is perfect, right? And you're going to have to the more property you own, sooner or later, you're going to be evicting somebody over something, right? And that's just part of the business. But with that property, like when you're in that D and lower, like sometimes when you evict somebody, like that was their last stop. Right. And then they could be on the street. Right. And then I've got to be comfortable enough with that. Right. And just didn't like being in a position where I felt like my choices were lose money or put somebody out in the street. And yes, I know it's not my fault that they didn't pay rent. I understand they have an obligation. Sometimes they had a rough time. Sometimes they just took advantage of the system. But at the end of the day, like I don't want to own something to where if I have a problem, like they're on the street. Like it's just not.
All right, but I mean, you genuinely care though, bro.
Yeah,
when you told me that, I was like, all right, bro.
I don't.
I agree.
That. But it's, I tell everybody, this is a people business. The better you are at working with people, I think the more success that you're going to have. And yes, it's a business. You need to operate it like a business and treat it like a business, but you can't lose sight of the fact that people drive this business, right? Like as investors, we are buying problems, and that's essentially you helping a person, right? And so if you're approaching these situations, like I stopped early on, I started to realize that, like, hey, I need to stop walking into this house and with the mindset of I need to close a deal, and walk into the house with the mindset of like, how can I be of service to this person? Because they're calling me because they need help. If they didn't need help, they just call a real estate agent and go get retail, right? So they're calling me because they need help, and they think that selling their house is the best way for them to solve their problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes is it? Yes, but sometimes it's not. And what I've realized is that, like, I feel like I have a responsibility that if I can help you and you not sell your house, I'm going to do that. Now, I'm not going to put my family on the street because we're broke, because I'm, helping everybody under the sun. But if I can help you and it's reasonable and I can not buy your house, I'll do that. Right. And so I remember vividly going on an appointment. This lady found me on my website. So she reached out to me. I didn't send her mail. I didn't cold call her. Like, she found my website and said, hey, come look at my house and make an offer. And so I did. And I went out there, and as they were kind of showing me around the house, like everything they were saying said, I want to sell, but their body language said, I don't want to sell. Right. You could tell something was off. And I was like, I'm just sitting there, and we get to the point where we're at the table and they want to hear what my offer is. And I'm like, look, I can make you an offer, but like something feels off. Like, it doesn't feel like you want me to buy your house. So like, what am I missing? And they said, we're just having a really rough time. This was all pre-COVID. So this was back when they were actually foreclosing quickly on properties. Right. And they were like, we're behind. I think they were 2 or 3 months behind, and they're going to foreclose on this. And we just don't have time to get caught up. And if I sell it now, I can at least get something.
So they're on the right track, honestly. Like, that's what you should do in that situation.
I can at least get something. And I said, well, how much are you behind? And I had her go get me a mortgage statement. And then I had her go get me her utilities. And they loved that. They didn't want to sell. And so instead of buying their house, because they would have took my offer, instead of buying their house, I just paid their mortgage for 2 months, and I paid the utilities for 2 months, because they didn't need to sell their house. They needed time.
Yeah.
Right. They needed time to get back on their feet. So that's what we did instead. And are they still in their house? I don't know. I hope so. But I sleep better at night knowing that I didn't just buy their house because I could. I helped them stay in their house because that's what they wanted.
Right. When you get a feel for how people truly are, right? Yeah. I mean, because like sometimes, like, no, bro, you should sell this house.
Right.
Other times, like if you sneeze a couple months, you have a legitimate plan.
Right.
And like the 2 months mortgage is nothing due anyways.
Right. Like,
it'll help them out.
Stay. Like, that's what you need. That's what you want. Stay. And I didn't hound them about like how they got behind or why. Like, I feel like a lot of the times as investors, we make excuses on why we bought the house. Like, well, they put themselves in this position. They should have paid their bills. Like, at the end of the day, maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But I know I could help them by doing this, and that's all that was important to me.
Hell yeah, bro. I love it. Jake, you got any questions, bro? Nothing. You got anything you want to leave the people with?
No, man. I like ending on that. I want to know kind of like Jake's hair care routine and like what he does to get the glisten on those locks.
On those locks. And where can people find out more about you, bro?
Best place to find me is Instagram. I'm at the Henry Washington on Instagram. Same thing on TikTok. And henrywashington.com. If you want to know how I'm financing those deals with small banks, I have a whole book. It's free. You just got to pay the shipping. henrywashington.com.
Go give them your money. Go give them your money. Thank you so much for coming on, bro.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
And then 1 minute, Jake, before you close out, we are opening up the winner circle here soon. If you are interested, send me a DM sending winners win, and we'll put you on the waiting list. It's coming up. I'm super excited for what we're going to put together. But again, thank you, Henry, so much for coming on. Thank you for recording it, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.